See you, Secretary Foxx. Just a couple of comments, and in your statement you indicate that you're paying more attention to rural and tribal areas to include in covering. What about territories?
We actually, through the Grow America Act, we invest in territories too.
Okay.
There have been some proposals recently that have not. But our proposal is, it acknowledges and supports the programs in the territories as well.
Thank you. Well, some of my former colleagues had brought it up, and they're not here in this committee anymore. The other area is railroads usually provide about 3% for grade separations. And I recently asked Mr. Hamburger how much he guessed at 10. I reminded him it's mostly about 3 and maybe 2% of in-kind. And those are things that maybe we need to look at to be able to have more outside dollars be able to be paired with local, state, county, and federal dollars. I'm very glad to see the Grow American Act included the section to establish the National Freight Program. As you have been aware, my area is the busiest high-end rail freight corridors in the nation, with 4 freeways that are all just jammed to the hilt. And I agree with Mr. Chairman, because we have trucks day and night, especially on the 710, and then of course going out in the 10 and the 60. Of course, we have mostly Union Pacific with the Alameda Corridor East, which delivers over 50%, or probably even more, of product to the eastern states. Biggest challenge is mitigating the negative impacts in the communities that it transects. Now, do you think it's important the National Freight Program prioritize projects that mitigate the negative impacts, including health and safety impacts, that this freight has on our local communities?
I think that's an important consideration in looking at a national freight plan, is the impacts on communities. And this gets to the point I was making earlier, which is that we are, because of MAP 21, we are looking at how freight moves in this country. And we're taking a broad look at that, probably even broader than just the 4 corners of what MAP 21 requires, because MAP 21 focuses mostly on highway lane miles, but we know that there is rail dimensions, there are port dimensions of freight. But as we look to improve our freight system, just like we look to improve the entire transportation system, I think one of the most important things is making sure that there is a meaningful public input process that goes along with this, so that the impacts of any given decision are understood, taken into account, and addressed at whatever level the project is happening on.
Thank you. I'll continue working with you on that, because that is a big issue in my area. Second question, Secretary Foxx, is the federal law currently prohibits cities and local transportation agencies from having the local hire preference on transportation projects where just even $1 of federal money is spent. That was an old provision that used to be when 80% was federally funded and 20% local. Today, it's reversed. Most of the communities either have local money, county money, state money, along with the federal money. And this issue was addressed on a temporary basis in the Crown Omnibus Appropriations law. But shouldn't we not include in the reauthorization bill to allow cities to have a local hire preference when the projects are a majority of local funds, whether state, local, county, and versus federal?
You know, it is extremely powerful when a project is happening in someone's backyard and they have the ability to apply for work in it. And we think that having local hire would be a strong statement of the job creation value of transportation in our system. And I do want to thank this Congress for allowing FTA to broaden its efforts in this regard through the omnibus bill that passed at the end of the last Congress.
Well, many of our communities sometimes have high unemployment rates, and this would be exceedingly helpful. Instead of having to import workers from other areas, from other counties, even from other states to come in and work. So I'd love to be able to hear any more information that you may provide this committee.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yield back.
Thank the gentlelady. With that, Mr. Barletta is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.